I call this meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. This is our regular scheduled Port Edwards Public Safety meeting for Tuesday, September 26th. The roll call, I declare that we are all present and we have quorum. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by trustee Grundon
Second.
and seconded by trustee Moore. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Can I have a motion to approve last month's minutes from September 6th?
A motion to approve the previous month's minutes. Second.
Motion by trustee Grundon and second, Moore, and seconded by trustee Grundon. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No position. Chairperson comments, I have none. So we'll move on from there. Public comments on agenda items. Anybody would like to speak on something? Perfect. We're gonna move on to the fire department and we are gonna start with Todd Eckes. Todd Eckes is the fire chief from Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department, here to discuss the changes to our upcoming renewal for our ambulance service. You can have the floor. Todd.
So, I sent stuff ahead of time. I hope that, Dwayne shared it with you.
We do have that in our packets, thank you.
Yep, the letter explains how we got to the number that we got to, and we understand that it's a large increase. But that's what COVID's done to us and what's happening now in the United States, so. I will tell you that that is the same exact price that we started with, the 3 townships that we took on a year and a half, going on 2 years now. When the CUSA closed their doors, so you're coming in where they did. As you are coming in, they're gonna be moving into their second 2 years of that 4-year contract, so. It would have been wrong for us to do a reevaluation of per capita, because it would have been unfair to you guys. So, we're gonna bring you in there, and we won't do a reevaluation of per capita until like they're done with their contract, so. We're not trying to make huge amounts of money on anybody here. We're trying to keep our heads above water and give you good quality care, so. I will guarantee you that you will always get the same care, the same response that you've always gotten. 2 paramedics trained at a critical care level. We're one of the few critical care licensed paramedic services in the state, CAS accredited. We just got accredited from CAS in July. We were found to have no deficiencies and 100% pass rate on it. So you're going to get the same service. We continue to strive to be that type of ambulance service. So what you have in front of you is our offer to you as to put in the contract. As far as the language in the contract, it would stay the same. We're still going to train your first responders for nothing as long as they want to come and sit in the trainings. We're going to give your first responders $10 for every call. One of the first responders on call. And there's a lot of stuff in the contract that I'm sure you're not going to get from anybody else. So, if you guys so choose and you vote this in, the process going forward is it will go in front of our finance committee. I already have it on the docket, with holding a spot in case you guys did pass it. Once finance passes it, it goes to council. Usually it'll pass council, and I don't see any problem why they wouldn't. This is something they've already said yes to with the other outlying areas that we're with. So by the end of October, I would have a contract for you then, and it'd be taken care of for the next 4 years. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer you. I brought Deputy Chief Jason along. Jason actually runs our EMS division. He is our division chief of EMS, but also serves as my deputy chief. So between the 2 of us, I'm sure we can answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
For the point of the conversation, I'll make the motion to recommend to FHR a 4-year contract renewal with Rapids Ambulance Service at the rate of 25 per capita for 24 and 25 and 26 per capita for 26 and 27.
You mean that in terms of dollars, right?
Yeah.
A motion has been made to approve this contract renewal to FHR. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second. There we go. We can continue discussing it since it's on the table.
Yeah.
Is it? Well, one of the things I was talking about with our administrator Dwayne is, do you have, 2 paramedics on each call?
Yes.
I did, and,
The only time you're not is like right now, we've got two members that are finishing up paramedic. So until they pass their paramedic class, they're gonna be an EMT. But any call that requires 2 paramedics, we're sending 2 paramedics with that EMT. So,
okay,
if it's a lift assist, somebody fell and that's all they need is a lift up. But and we have an EMT and a medic, we'll probably send them because we'll save that medic for a high acuity call. But if it's a call, difficulty breathing or whatever, we're gonna be sending 2 medics and that EMT if they happen to be riding the ambulance that day. So you will always still get 2 paramedics for any call that there are 2 paramedics needed on. And just to give you an idea where we are with critical care, I think our bottom 2 tiers is all that is not critical care trained right now. So that means there's only 6 people out of 39 that are not critical care trained. And our plan is every year we try to get 3 people through that course, so.
okay.
Can I, and I don't know if you have this information, but, are you guys kind of the top as far as response time comparatively to other, entities around the area?
I guarantee you, there is no ambulance service that will beat us here. I guarantee you that. And here's why, and I'm not cutting on any ambulance service. Even when the CUSA was in, we were beating their times, and it's because we're in the station, all right?
Right,
Volunteer services have to come to the station and pick the ambulance up, or if they take it home, they still gotta go and pick their partner up or meet them before they respond to an incident. I'm not trashing any organization, it's just, we are setting in-house, and with Station 2 or Station 1, you guys, I'm sure you know our times, we've been coming out here for how many years now, going on 7 or 8 years, so. There's nobody around here who's gonna beat our time.
I'm a new trustee, so don't be offended by my question.
No.
And I'm asking it because I think,
There's no such thing as a bad question.
yeah, and I think we're talking about obviously more dollars, but if you guys are the quickest and you're sending multiple people, I mean, if we really look at, I know you can't totally compute that until life saved, but, for me, sometimes you have to pay more for
Well,
the,
you can compute
better
that to life
service.
save because time is muscle when it comes to somebody having a heart attack. The quicker you get that heart rhythm out of that dysrhythmia,
yeah.
the
I
less
mean,
muscle you
actual,
lose.
like the actual comparison is what I'm saying, but no, I agree. And I guess that's where I'm coming from is sometimes you have, sometimes you're gonna have to pay top dollar in order to get the good services, so.
Thank you, Reverend. If there's no other questions, I will call the question, and all in favor for this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope, it approved unanimously. That'll go to FHR. Todd, Jason, if you'd like to stay, you can, but it's up to you. More than welcome to leave if you'd
It's
like
been a
to.
long day, we've been hazmating it all day in the rain.
So what you're saying is you wanna stay, right?
I've been in since 5:30 this morning, so I think if you guys need us, I would be.
Thank you,
more than happy
yes.
to leave.
Thank you,
Yes, thank you
guys.
for your.
Thank you.
presentation.
I'll just add, if there's ever any operational questions, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I know we work real close with your service director, Mr. Fletcher, so. And any questions that come up downrange, we're always open to communication.
Phone call away.
Thank you.
I just wanna throw in my 2 cents that you can feel good about your decision. Their care is unmatched.
Top
It's,
notch.
it's top notch.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, guys.
I guess.
Good guys, good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Before we move on, Matt, could I ask you to sit in the public gallery there, please?
Are we not talking about EMF tonight?
He's got a lot of information. He's been the main stem winder as far as gathering information about the rest.
I'll be happy to do whatever you want. So,
I mean, If
We're not,
if
if you
it
don't want
comes
the
up,
EMS director, I'll go sit in the public.
can
Bye,
you see there, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, bye-bye.
Chief Warden, could you give us a update from your department?
Yeah, don't have too much to report. We welcomed Jordan Foose and Cassidy Sayers into our membership, two new, associate firefighters. And the rescue truck is currently being serviced for a grinding noise that's in the rear end. We had it looked at once before and, the mechanic thought it might be the tires, but, we decided to get a second opinion, so that's where it's at right now.
I have a question on that. So if, rescue truck is out, what do you use instead?
We have, we take out all the critical stuff, like the defib and the oxygen bag and the medical bag and stuff like that, and we put that in engine 3.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And engine 3 is equipped with, a different defib, and it's got some medical supplies, just kind of a scaled down
Sure, so you
backup
just
truck
take
in
that,
case we get multiple calls at the
Sure.
same time kind of thing.
okay.
You said, sorry, you said this is on engine 3?
No, he was saying that the rescue truck is out, so I asked, my question was, what do they use instead if the rescue truck isn't available? And then it is, they use engine 3.
Okay, oh, okay, there we go. Thank you for that.
Nice question.
Yeah.
Where do you take it to the shop?
Which, business? Right now it's at Accurate Automotive, I believe.
So how long do they anticipate until they have a diagnostic on it?
I'm not sure. Ben Martinson took care of that. For all I know, it may be back right now. When I wrote this last night, that's where it was.
Okay, okay.
But I haven't gotten an update since yesterday.
Thank you.
Sure. And the only other thing we did was, we met with a company that sells, turnout gear, and we're waiting some quotes. And our call volume has dipped a little bit, but still pretty much on track with, last year's total. And because of the meeting being held today instead
Yeah, a
of.
little earlier. so-
Yeah, like there's a drill that hasn't taken place yet, and then mock scenario at ERCO, I haven't heard how that went yet, so I'm hoping to get some updates on that.
Do you know if anybody from our fire department was able to go?
I know a few people had planned to go, but I don't know if they made it.
Is that for today?
Yeah, that happened, this morning.
Yeah.
They had a mock hazmat exercise with a truck that flipped over, and there was 3 tanks containing hazardous chemicals, and they had to deal with them. You were there,
I'm
right?
That was, yeah.
I'm sure he'll update us on that because he was there.
Yeah.
I was just curious if anybody
Okay.
went.
And that's about it. Anybody have any questions, thoughts?
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Where am I?
Okay, the next motion on our agenda refers to recommend to the village board to refer the reviews of the Port Edwards Fire Department bylaws to a recommended 5-person ad hoc committee. Could I get a motion to open that?
Make that motion.
Motion by trustee Grundon,
I'll second.
second by trustee Moore. Any questions pertaining to this?
Yeah, can someone explain?
I was gonna say,
what's
can you
going
just
on?
explain to me, to everybody what the thought process is behind it?
Cause that's a
Um,
brand new piece for me.
Working with Dwayne to create a 5-member ad hoc committee to move the revision of the bylaws to that committee. It involved Jason, myself, Dwayne, Scott Stewart, and then a 5th person.
Is this the bylaws that we met on several times?
Correct.
So it's still stuck,
Yeah, we're moving it to a committee to get all the,
finalize it,
yeah.
so it won't be stuck here anymore.
Right.
Okay, and then
Well,
once,
it's a public safety ad hoc committee, so it's still kind of here, but it's other people from every entity represented there. They can work through all the kinks instead of us just kicking it around.
especially after highlighted after last time. What we realized is that no fault of our own, or at least no fault of anybody who's in the room, is putting into a place of like, we cannot take an entire document like this in a meeting, and even their department too, it's a hefty thing, so.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cry over not going over it, I just wanted to know.
That's
where
why.
that came
I mean, if you wanna be
from.
person
If
number
we're over,
five.
you wanna be number five.
Who do I need
It'll
to
come back to
buy
the
a
committee again.
gift for?
So,
Okay.
that's right, so that's what that is.
Okay,
Any other discussion?
so when it comes back to
Yeah.
us, are we just going through changes at a glance? Or just?
I'd have to talk as, Dwayne knows this process a little bit more, he's done this before. And so whether it goes back straight to us, or goes to each one first, or goes straight to the village board, he knows how that
But
works.
we're gonna make sure it saves us time.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
Gonna
yeah.
hold you to that.
Well, and that way you have,
You know you're happy I'm saying that, come on.
that way we have the PFC like putting their input in, right? Everybody's at the same table. It hopefully,
It was,
you probably should have started that way, to be
this
honest with
sounds
you.
like the process that Boz had in mind, but it was more, I think, Jason, if you could correct me, that I think people looked at it, but not necessarily in the same room.
Right, it was all done separately from my
Yeah.
understanding, like,
And that's what's. taken a
everybody
long
kinda
time.
made their updates and then Boz compiled it and there was, 4 different color codes with
Yes.
input from every place. I mean, we're real close to the end, but
So, and yeah,
yeah.
And
we
your
just wanna
guys'
make sure
input?
too, so.
Yeah, for the most part.
With that in mind, the motion is before us. All in favor for this, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposition, motion passes unanimously. The next motion is to recommend to FHR the creation of a rollover 400 account for the fire department's capital expenses. Could that a motion be made?
I'll make the motion to recommend that FHR creates a rollover 400 account for the PEFD capital expenses.
I will second that motion. Any discussion for this account? And I think that it is listed here on the last page of our packet here. And I believe, Jason, you're anticipating that the $10,000 from your capital outlay is moved there.
Right.
So it'll
So
roll over every
That way it
year.
rolls over. Instead of capital outlay, you're supposed to spend it, right?
Right, yeah,
Is that the intent?
yeah, I don't know how this process works, but
Well, and in some ways, this is the creation of one, it's not necessarily how there's no thought from our committee if we're gonna use money to put into it from the village or not. So, that could be something that when it goes to FHR, they can talk about where, if we put money into it, how money keeps going, put into it, so.
Mhm.
But, that's the
Or let's
anticipation,
just
so.
agree one.
Talking to Diane, she said, of course, that the village board needs to approve the creation of this before she can do anything with it. Yeah,
What, generally does the capital outlay go to, you know, when you're having to spend that in a year, what is it? Do you know what I mean? I don't wanna rob Peter to pay Paul, so are we gonna be missing something big on your end?
no, this is only I haven't done too many budgets since becoming chief, but it was my understanding that the capital outlay was for the more big ticket items,
Okay.
the expensive things that only come up every so often, but they're real pricey.
And if you don't use it, it just kind of goes back into the pot and gets
General fund.
reallocated,
Yep.
Mhm.
okay, so this way we're
Whereas-
saving it if you're
Mhm.
not using it, at
Right.
least we're,
Yep.
got it, okay,
And
That
last
way-
year we used
that
it to
way-
buy radios.
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So this year, it's still there and that's meant for the turnout gear, according to the memo?
I was going to put it towards the rescue truck.
Are you confident that you think you'll get the grant for the turnout gear?
I don't know, it's a grant. I haven't been successful with too many grants.
and once we move this on and when we talk to Diane, she might give us some advice of what kind of restrictions go around a 400 count. We were talking about that earlier, so there might be some sort of restrictions that might dictate how we use it too,
Right,
because you might not want that $10,000 in there if you need to use it regularly or annually or something like that, so.
Right, that's what I don't really understand about the process, like, I know you're not supposed to put tax dollars into a savings account, but yeah, I'll learn as I go.
Yeah, well, when we'll invite Diana aboard when it gets to the next one, so, with that in front of us, all in favor for the motion before us, say aye. Aye. No opposition, is carried unanimously. And then the proposed 2024 operating budget for the PEFD, could I have a motion to approve what has been proposed to us?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 operating budget.
Okay,
Second.
motion by trustee Moore, seconded by trustee Grundon. Anything else, any changes from last time or anything you want to highlight from here?
Can I- Oh, sorry, keep going.
Sorry.
I had a couple thoughts. One was the ambulance service. You get, a stipend back from them if we send 2 responders to a call. Right now, it just kind of goes into a village general fund, which is fine. But I was kind of wondering if I could get that added to my budget, at least kind of acknowledge that the money's coming in from services that we're helping provide. And then, which also led me to remember the fire contracts. You know, we get a certain dollar amount coming in from the 3 municipalities that we cover. And we get money in from those municipalities, but it's, everybody knows about it, but it's just not in black and white right in front of you. It would be kind of nice if that was listed somewhere.
So you get it back when people go, right? Right, like if someone goes on.
$10 if.
For the ambulance
if the
service?
first responders.
Yeah.
So from the last conversation I had with, I don't remember if it was Chief Acus or Boz, I thought it was $10 per person regardless of the 2. Was it how?
I thought
I think 2 people have to respond to a call.
he just indicated
I thought it was
a
per,
person.
yeah,
Was it a
I think it
person?
used to be 2 people.
But-
Okay, maybe that's.
But the amount is somewhat, so we're looking at, are we asking to put it someplace else or just?
You want it reflected in your budget, right?
Right, that would be.
Well, but your budget's all expenses, so not,
Right, I don't know how that works with money coming in, but it would, if it could just be listed on there somehow.
so Diane has those numbers. Only Diane has those numbers.
I'm sure Diane has an idea.
Yes.
I think it's a village-wide thing, things like that, like the police department, their tickets, they still go back into general revenue.
Mhm.
All the different departments that bring in revenue, like grants, it still goes back into the general.
General fund.
I don't know if all the grants do, but
Well,
it's not just the fire department, it's village-wide.
No, I get
That
it.
when there's different parts that have income producing entities, building permits, all of that goes back into the general. So that might be a conversation of if we're gonna have that it would be everyone in the departments, everyone in the village is gonna want us to change it that way.
the only thing I'm thinking of why it's not in the budget is because it's an unknown number, right? You don't know how many you're gonna go on is why I'm thinking it's not just, because it's not a guaranteed dollar amount, essentially.
Yeah,
Is what
For
my
me-
thought is, but I could be wrong. I
And
could-
that's, sorry, that's where I'm at too, where, okay, we don't know how many. If we had like kind of a 3-year average of where we're at, that would maybe give us an idea for the next year, right? Obviously, things, variables change, but I don't know if this is where you're going, but you know, that jump in EMS is around 27 grand, and it would be nice, just even for my brain to be like, okay, it's 27 grand, but we're typically getting this dollar amount back. Do you know what I'm saying? To say like, okay, we're 27 grand short right now. Do you see what I'm saying? Because of that jump in EMS. So what are we getting back in to kind of give us an idea of what the actual ticket price is that we need to make up?
I don't know that EMS is actually coming out of their budget. I don't know that I've seen that in here.
It's
Yeah,
okay,
ambulance
ambulance, I
expenses.
see, I
There's
see.
a jump from 18,
They just did it in a separate,
right? Yeah, there's a
Got it.
jump
Yeah,
from
it's-
18,750 up
Please.
to 4,000. Or
Yeah.
sorry, not 4,000, that'd be great. 45,450.
right, so it's not really in the fire department. She's got it separated out.
Sorry, if there's fire department and then there's, yeah, it's,
Ambulance,
the
yeah.
ambulance is separate.
Well, and I'm wondering too, Jason, is if we can get that number, if it's like a 3-year average or something like that. Do you have a column here for breakdown where there's some, comments, fire training, inspection, and I'm wondering if you could put that in as like a journal entry so that we know, because that won't, certainly from this year, won't change any of our numbers, but it might be good to have on a line item. And I would say that, we can approve it, because that doesn't change the budget, but put that down when, maybe when it gets to the next committee or or whenever we get those numbers. I think it could be added without change. Does that make sense? Is that,
'Cause it'd be-
Yeah, I don't know if the budget just reflects expenditures because we pay bills every month and then it deducts from each line
Mhm.
item on the budget. Can income be added to that throughout the year?
Well, I don't think, so. I think you, like how you said, budget expense wise, but it would be nice to be like, hey, this is what fire contracts are, right? Especially when we get to this process, so we can be like, oh, okay, so here is typically what the fire contracts we're receiving are. Here's the average
Right.
of. So I
Right
see
now-
what you're saying. It'd be
yeah.
nice to have that represented somewhere.
All-
I just don't know how.
all village income goes through Diane, right? She's
Yeah.
the keeper of all of it. So, yeah, it's just one of those things that you won't have it on here because you don't have those numbers unless you get it from Diane. And,
All right.
yeah, we don't
Like,
have,
as it would come in.
yeah.
It'd be
Um,
nice to
noticed
have
the
like just a
word
little
out.
box or
I
something.
think it's just,
see it.
yeah, your budget's just gonna be, expenses.
I just noticed the wording in the contract. It said the stipend is to come back to the first responder service.
Which when we're
Which is-
funding the
I know-
fire
I know
department,
it
it's
comes through the
still,
village, but
yeah. I think,
Okay,
I did ask Diane about the contracts. I don't know if you guys have the updated, or did I include you in on that, Caleb? I can forward it to everybody right now if you guys are interested. Have you seen that, Jason?
the what?
The contract numbers that,
I don't recall seeing that, but, I have a note here to ask Diane, like, where to go so we can clarify, but, it's not, it wouldn't change anything that, the numbers that you have. I think it could be reflected in some sort of comment column that you have here, just so we have it, kind of side by side, but usually the budget's not gonna have any income attached to it.
No, it'd be more just
Yeah,
a visual.
it would be nice to have those numbers, that's
Right.
true, yeah.
I have a question on first responders training. So that's $500, and then this first responder supplies. So Chief Atkins just got done saying that we're getting free training. So like, what does that $500 entail? Is there other training
Right,
besides that?
there could be
what they're
additional
offering?
training, you know, if, if someone wants to take some sort of elective training that's not through
Not
Rapids
through-
Ambulance.
You
like-
didn't use any last year.
No.
Yeah.
In years past, like I went to a head trauma seminar one time years ago, and so did that come out of there?
Okay,
It wasn't put on through Rapids Ambulance, it was
Sure.
through Marshfield
Something
Hospital,
else.
I think, yeah.
okay.
I had that same thing noted though that Caleb's saying, so in 2022, $0 went to first training supplies and then first responder supplies was $35.85. And right now we're budgeting 500 and 1,000 respectively for that total of 1,500. So maybe this is more of a budget question, but let's say we say, yep, it's all approved and we send it off. And then the budget's not balanced, then does it come back and cuts are made? How does it work? Right? If Diane looks at this and goes, you guys are over budgeted by
well,
$100,000.
we send it forward to FHR, what we look at as being the final product. And then we kind of, in FHR, when it gets a little sketchy, we, you know, kind of rally for this is the product that we believe in and we've, you know, ran it as tight as we could. Cause that's gonna be the expectation this year, that anything, we have to tighten it down.
But trustee Moore has a good point. I mean, as a point that I had to get clarified too, is because we don't have the larger picture
Right.
on the village limits. So
That's
all
why it
we,
goes to
all we,
FHR.
yeah, so
Right.
all we can do on this committee is just look at it in terms of just the departments, so.
Cause like, I'll be honest, I went through both police and fire and I was like, well, is this somewhere when we looked at past years, and I've got questions for Scott too, where we can trim the budget there?
Mhm.
And that's my question is, should we be doing that here?
I would say.
I would love to just approve both of them, right? But obviously I recognize the village is in a spot where we need to be fiscally conservative.
I would do it like this, we could write down our recommendations for any, but all that can go to FHR, but I don't think that we'll go and actually do any cutting.
So can we be like, if you absolutely have to cut? Here.
Well,
I
and the
think-
value of the conversation here is because Jason and Scott have a seat at the
Yeah.
table to rally back and say, wait a minute, this is why, be careful, don't.
So, yeah,
Okay,
so why don't, well, we'll put these down as recommendations that can be sent to FHR.
well,
But-
again, I don't wanna cut anything, but if we have to.
I can kind of
We
explain
kinda
my
have to, like-
thought processes.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, what we have to do is kind of triage, like, right, like, this looks good, but if we need to trim,
Mhm.
it's here, here, and here. And then FHR kind of looks at it and maybe it's yeah, nope, we need $1,500 from you guys, figure it out. Then it kind of gets kicked back into, okay, here's where the easier ones are. But yeah, go ahead, Jason, sorry.
No, but, what I was gonna say was that my input with the budget was we kind of jockeyed some numbers around for this year's budget, because the previous years, we had, I think, $1,000 in first responder training, and we didn't use much of that either, so, okay, well, let's scale that back 500. But in trucks, equipment, supplies, we were way over budget, so trim 500 off of here, add 500 over there, I kind of did that in multiple categories, so. Some of them has been scaled down, and some's been added to others, so.
Speaking of first responder training, you said that it was $1,000 before, we've come down to 500. With doing with Rapids Ambulance, sorry, I'm like, with Rapids Ambulance providing training, is that a reason why your budget hasn't gone to $1,000 for that piece? Because you're not outsourcing it to other trainings, because I'm assuming you guys need credits or so many hours of training to keep certifications or whatever, is that a piece?
Yeah, it's been a while since we had to have any training from anyone else.
Okay.
Rapids Ambulance has been working with us
Kind of covers
for
those.
years, yeah.
Sure, okay, I
Even
was
when
just
we,
curious if that
when we
was.
were running with, Nakusa Ambulance, Rapids would still come and,
Oh, okay,
recertify us.
So when we're looking at if we have to make cuts, would that $1,500 be someplace that you would feel comfortable if there has to be some trimming?
Possibly, I mean, I don't wanna cut it too close to the bone, and then someone decides they wanna take a class that costs $250,
Mhm.
and then we're in the hole in that category, you know?
Well, my suggestion wouldn't be moving that 500 for that reason. I was looking more at, and if I'm way off base, please say so, but first responder supplies, that was the $35 in 2022. And right now that's sitting at 1,000. Like now, if you're like, we know for first responders, we've got to replace this and this year, that's a different conversation. But that was one where I was like, well, if we had to cut,
Right.
is that something that could be lessened? Or do you know there's something coming up where you're going, no?
I'd have to talk to the first responders just to make sure that they don't have their eyes on something.
Okay.
Cause that equipment is so expensive, you know, you need a new defibrillator, that's 15 grand, so.
uh-huh,
So maybe that one can't move because one item could blow the budget there.
Right.
And that's fine. I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
the first
if-
thing
if
about
our-
this stuff.
Our suction machine is getting pretty old, if that fails, that'll take care of that line in the budget.
Okay.
Just that one item alone.
Okay, I had some, if nobody minds, I had some other questions.
So,
Telephones, actually, I have one for you on this one too. So is that cell phones or is that a landline?
that's my question also.
I think it's the landline,
Is that necessary anymore?
I mean, since cell phones have been around, it's rare that the phone in the station rings. I just have the voicemail set up, say that we don't staff the
Yeah.
Mhm.
the office. If you need to get a hold of me, here's my cell.
And so, and is your cell phone paid for by the village?
No, we had a cell phone that was paid for by the village, but I had it for like 4 months and it rang once and it was a wrong number. So I said, well, we can just cancel this. I don't wanna carry two phones around
Look at you cutting the fat.
anyway.
Well, and so that was my question. So like in 2022, that was $750. And now that's budgeted for 1,300. So if that, is that just the landline? So fire, telephone, sorry, I got scribbles all over, but in 2022, it was $750 and now it's bumped up to 13, and it was for last year too. So that was my question, like, well, did the landline just, or
Well,
what?
we've got a few months
Um,
left.
If I can, like, that just, I never see a bill on that, so that's something that Diane just handles. So to be honest, it's on my budget, but I have no idea what that's paying for. If it's paying for my cell phone and my Wi-Fi in the squads, or if it's the landline, I never get any information on that. That just disappears from my
Did you ask
budget.
Diane about that?
Yeah, I have it circled, because I'm also wondering if that goes back to any sort of policies or something that you have to have one legally or whatever.
Maybe, it could be internet and TV
That's
also.
what I was
Yeah.
wondering is, because I think it's voice over IP
Okay,
phone service, so it very possibly could be our.
The internet.
yeah, I have that circled, so
I
thank you.
know we're only talking like $500, but if we can find $500 in various places, like, I mean, things add up to.
So that comes out to be about 108 a month.
You're the 1,300,
Yeah.
So
I
that
just thought it
sounds
was
about
weird
right
that
for
it.
if you're talking
especially
internet
for
and
a
phone,
landline.
cause I know that that's what it approximately is.
It's probably landline, internet and TV.
Yeah,
And prices just maybe went up, totally possible. I just wondered, okay.
and if it does include that, then why don't we change this line item to reflect what's actually in it? Once we know if it's like communications packet or something. Any other,
Or like you said, if it's money that really isn't being used and you need it somewhere else, right? Whether it's cut or put in something where it
Right.
gives you guys the availability to
or if you
buy
determine,
one of those things you just
right,
mentioned.
or if you determine you don't
Separate,
need a
whatever
phone
that is.
there,
Mhm.
maybe it's, we don't get rid of it, like, cause you can't really get rid of the internet, but maybe it's you take that package, just like we do at home, and be like, okay, we don't need the landline, but we still need the internet. Or the
Yeah.
TV or whatever, so just kind of, I think more information is needed.
Yeah, I think we should check into that because, the cell towers could go down during a storm, but landlines still work and maybe kind
Yeah.
of stuck, but.
That's
True.
Yeah.
legit.
that's a good point. Any other things from the budget?
Yeah. Fire meeting expense, that was one, we have budgeted 2,400, but looking at the 2022, that line item was over $3,000.
What a crazy year.
Where is-
That's our dinner meeting expenses and inflation, the cost of soda went up, the cost of food went up, so.
So that's my question too, if we blow over a budget line item, then what happens?
That would be on a discussion with Diane where she would look at the budget and borrow it from
Yeah.
Peter to pay Paul.
And is there, so
Sure.
really, when you're, so it's paying for like catering, is that what's going on?
A lot of, lately catering has been cheaper than actually cooking in-house, but
Okay.
traditionally, we would cook in-house.
Okay.
Well, you talk inflation, but you're actually giving yourself less. $700 less. Or,
That, I think that
No,
line was
no.
cut for me last year.
Yeah,
Oh,
so it's approximately $200 a month is what's budgeted for those, correct?
Mhm.
And how often do you have dinner meetings?
Every other month.
Our meeting expense, no, Okay.
Other.
Anything else?
Fire health and welfare, what's that? What does that cover?
That covers, physicals, and I've been putting, our breathing air under that line also.
Okay,
Mm.
and I don't have a question about the funding there, I just didn't know what it was.
Your breathing air, that,
For our
Air
air
tanks.
packs, yeah.
okay. I'm just like, you know, that comes free, you know?
Right, yeah.
They're called trees.
Oxygen.
Okay.
Do you need a couple Lorax?
It's actually breathing air.
Okay.
That's all, that was all I had.
So I have, the fire and, wait. I might be looking at the wrong thing, but this is relevant. The truck's back in the garage, rusty brake parts, not sure on bill, we'll get it tomorrow. But it's fixed.
Was that from Ben?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I was like, what?
I
feel
would
my
not be
phone-
announcing that.
I
otherwise.
feel my phone buzzing in my pocket, but it.
We need sugar.
What
I was
did
like,
you-
that's,
what did you
where's that
have?
on the?
The, one second, somebody else go first while I pull that back up, if you don't mind.
Ooh. I think I got.
I think it's about wages. Can we get, I see that there's the different lines for fire wage calls. Can we get that tracking and budgeting, what's gonna be the fire wage calls? And let's see,
So they,
I think that it's important for, in the budget, for the breakdown of first responders, calls, mechanics, secretary. I think those numbers in there, because this is a document that the public may be asking for. I think we need that breakdown rather than just the 64,000. And then on the, getting that monthly screenshot, snapshot, whatever, of how much have we paid for fire calls, how much have we paid for trainings, things like that, EMS calls, so we really know where the actual burden of the expenses are as we start to move forward.
are these all together where I see the fire department wages?
Yeah, 64,750.
Yeah,
So what you're asking for is like listing.
That, yeah,
the
that it
breakdown.
be, yeah.
we don't have a fire I mean, we do have a fire inspector, but is that not a position filled?
Oh, we've got 4 of them right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's just,
We have to do, 2 fire inspections on every business in the village
Mhm.
per year.
and why would there, I mean, that whole line item's empty, is there a reason why they're separated from above?
That line item was in there, with a dollar amount, and then it was removed. And then after my last, 2% dues audit, they recommended going back to keeping it separate. Because fire inspector wages qualifies for a 2% dues expenditure. So the money we take in from those 2% dues, it can only be spent on certain things. Fire prevention, certain equipment, fire inspection wages is one of them. So, April Hammond recommended that we go back to separating for, fire inspection wages. Just so, because I have to report
Yeah.
where that 2% dues money goes to.
Yeah.
So that was something I could report on, so.
So you're saying that you could do, she's asking for the fire inspection wages to be separated?
She said it would be a good idea.
Okay. So does anybody else find that of value, understanding what we're doing for fire inspection wages, what we're doing for fire calls, what we're doing for EMS? the mechanic, secretary, all of that, having that itemized, I think is of value.
Yeah, you have the line items, but, cause where's the EMS? Where you,
So right here, this big box,
Yeah.
EMS is,
oh, just the director?
well, there's the director, there's EMS.
Oh, I
first
see it
responder
stuffed in
calls.
there, yeah, I see
Yep.
it, first responder calls.
The other thing to look at, we have to keep in mind moving forward as chief is getting ready to retire, what can we additionally get from shared revenue? And it might be time to look at combining services, whether it be police, just police, or police and fire. We may need to look at combining some things, so having a better understanding of exactly what we're spending, what is our cost for what services.
Right, well, I think the question is, what is being budgeted, but it sounds like you're talking about expenses, where are the expenses coming from?
What are the expenses of the wages? So it's twofold. We need to know what we should be budgeting, and we should know what we're spending.
Right, and what we're spending,
Would be on the monthly if we
yeah,
broke it
yeah, it
out.
wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think next month would be a good month to look at that, since we've now went through another quarter of the year, so. But on the wages, where you're asking to take the 64 and,
break it down. What's the stipends? Because chief gets a stipend, secretary, mechanic, training director, all those jobs get stipends.
could you do that by next week for the FHR?
Well, the stipends are already set. To break down the difference in, how the wages are spent, like per call, like first responder versus fire. That's gonna take a little more work. Diane's gonna have to help me separate that out.
I was just gonna ask, wouldn't Diane have that? She's paying people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say just move it, because it is kind of, to stuff all of that under raises, other inspections right there, it seems, I mean, I'm gonna guess that that's probably like a catch-all category at the bottom.
So my suggestion would be,
wages.
you figure out those stipends, right, of who the EMS director, the training director, you can kind of figure out inspections, you know. Put the ones that you know for sure how much they are in there, then kind of guess at the other ones based off of history.
Those should be all set. I mean, like I
Right.
said, the chief mechanic,
Right.
secretary, training director.
And then it's just those other
Those are
ones
all
you have to
set.
kind of figure out
Split them up and just kind of guesstimate
yeah,
moving forward, how
Yeah.
it would be.
yeah,
Okay, if Diane can create
yeah. If you need help
first responder
with me trying to
call,
explain that to Diane, I can, because that probably didn't come out very.
Well,
intelligent.
Diane could just do those numbers.
Right.
I mean, she's gotta have.
They get
them.
provided to her.
Right, but she'd have the cumulative.
She's got the
loss.
fire call wages in here. She's got the fire inspector wages. So it would be the EMS wages, the drills.
Yeah, so. If you could,
And
yeah,
that makes
I'll
sense,
get
yeah.
with Diane and we'll see if we
Okay.
can figure something out.
thank you.
Moving on, any last questions? Could it be with this motion ahead of it, the motion's open, when we approve this, we're gonna approve it with these recommendations to FHR and take them there instead of bringing them back here for next month?
Mhm.
Is that understood?
Sure.
Okay, and since we're doing it that way, we looked at the first responder supplies in the training, and I have it marked here to look at. We know that the capital outlay, where that's gonna go, the telephone we're gonna look at, and then the wages and how that is lined out. But significantly, there's no numbers that were significantly changing, is that correct?
No.
Okay, so with the motion in front of us, if there's no other question, all in favor to recommend to FHR the proposed 2024 operating budget for the PEFD, understanding with our recommendations attached to it. All in
Are we
favor?
doing it separate for fire department and police?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
aye.
Bye.
Aye. Motion carried unanimously, no opposition, so that is done. Then it was just, rescue vehicle proposal. We have, you sent 4 documents, but I only had 2 printed out, so I think
Okay.
that's simply because if you wanted the numbers on the other ones, I have it up here. So what we have is, the Belco of all the, equipment and then the graphics. Sell us your vehicle.
Uh-oh, did I miss something? Might have missed.
Well,
It's just, you have it, it's the Belco
Oh, okay,
and then it should be underneath it.
never mind.
It's not up for motion yet, but, depending on the conversation, maybe it'd be on for next month. Or after that.
okay, as you guys know, that our current rescue vehicle is aging, it's having some mechanical issues, some rust issues, so we had a truck committee formed, with, made up just of members of the first responders, they use it, so their input is more valuable than others. And they came up with a Tahoe. It has pretty much the same bumper to bumper measurement as the current pickup truck that we have. We kicked around the idea of having a combination like brush truck slash first responder vehicle, but we decided against that. Our brush truck is fine, doesn't need to be replaced, and one of those kind of vehicles is hundreds of thousands of dollars, so just a regular brand new Tahoe. I can't remember the base price, was 56,000 or something. And then it'd be all painted red already. And then to put all the goodies on, the wig lights and the light bar and the siren radio and a special center console to house the radio and all the little switches and stuff. That comes up to, just shy of 10 grand. And you have there's an artist rendering, I guess, of how the graphics package would look. All our trucks are red and they have that 3 white pinstripe somewhere on them, so we like to stick with that theme. And the Maltese cross won't fit on the door, but it looks nice on the back window. So that's what the graphics would look like, and I think that's $1,400. And all that was taken into consideration when we requested $70,000 for the vehicle. And the Athletic Association is gonna kick in 10% of that, which is $7 grand. But with a brand new vehicle, the last 3 vehicles we got were used, needed a lot of work, and this would be our first brand new vehicle, so it should last us a long time. And with our call volume, the first responder vehicle is the most heavily used, goes out more than all our other vehicles combined. And with the extra seating space in here, it can be used as a command vehicle for other incidences, searches and things like that, can haul more people. And having the gear all contained in one area, you have to worry about things freezing in the winter and things like that, because the back cab of the pickup truck's not heated, so if it's out for long periods of time, we have to think about what could be in there that freezes. But we won't have to worry about it with this one.
So, describe to me the different scenarios that this would be used.
The difference in what?
The scenarios that would be used in situations.
All our first responder calls, basically, any type of medical emergency. Cuts and scrapes, we get a lot of seizures, a lot of elderly people falling. Strokes, heart attacks. This would have our backboard for car accidents or falls where there might be a spine or neck injury. You would have, two, Gumby suits, we call them, for cold water rescue. We have two in this vehicle
Okay,
and then two in engine 3. A couple life jackets, and then all our medical supplies, oxygen bag, C-collars for neck injuries, splints for broken bones, our medical bag, which has, glucose monitoring equipment, bandages. What else is in there? Or our airway breathing devices. We used to use combi tubes, I can't remember what the new ones are called now. But what else is in there? Hot packs, cold packs. And then our oxygen bag, of course, has airway management equipment and oxygen. Stuffed animals for the kids to keep them calm, suction devices, our AED. And so pretty much anything that would involve any of that equipment. And then, like I said, for search and rescues, we will use it as a command vehicle. Car accidents, because it takes a while to fill engine 3, which has all our extrication equipment. We'll send this vehicle out first to kind of assess the situation. The 2 guys can jump in, they can take off. And then while guys are suiting up and getting ready with engine 3, it might be a 5-minute delay, but in that time you can gather information, how many patients, what the injuries are. Do we need the extrication? Do we need to pull a hose line? All that stuff can be decided before the engine even gets there with this faster vehicle.
so you talked about the heated in the winter. What else would this come equipped for that's different than what we have now?
Just more reliability and, more, the capacity to carry more people.
Was the Jaws of Life included in that?
No, the jaws, go on the engine.
Okay. And what was the time frame? What is your preferred time frame for this, to get this?
I'm just kind of rolling with it.
So are we. That's
Yeah.
why we need to discuss
Yeah,
this.
I
So,
mean, the
Roll
other one is
forever.
functioning, you know, I'm not in dire need of one right this second. But, the plan was to come up with the numbers this year and order it next year. And I guess then we're at the mercy of, when we can get it delivered, how long it takes to get the radio installed, the graphics put on, things like that.
great, so 2030, we'll get it.
That radio, probably.
Yeah. Darn radio.
Yeah, we'll get it first.
Okay.
It's in.
Was it? Okay.
Thank you for that. Is there any questions for Jason? For the discussion?
I don't have any questions. But I do feel a little hesitant spending that kind of money at this point. That is a want. Does it feel, I mean, it feels more of a want than a need when we have the current truck at 34,000. I get the want. I get, conveniences and things like that.
Mhm.
But it used to be that we were waiting on Nakusa to back us up and on medical. And now we've got Rapids getting there before us. So it feels a little like it might be the timing of it might not be ideal unless we can really find some big grants to back it up. But I'm afraid that it would be people are feeling the burden of feeling fearful with the assessments. And if I'm understanding it right, we're kind of screwed, for lack of better words, in a way this year than that we haven't been. I don't think this year is the time that we can sell replacing a $34,000 vehicle at this time. I mean, 34,000 mile
Well,
vehicle.
certainly, and I think the conversation too is gonna be, it can't be, we approve a vehicle, let's go look for grants. It
Mhm.
kind of needs to be what grants are out there now that we could secure. It is one of those things, it's always that sort of cat and mouse thing, that what comes first. Cause we can't approve something that we have no, assurance and, no proof of covering it. And as I understand from Diane, we're gonna cut it close as far as expenses
Yeah,
for at least this year.
well, and I kind of think that Boss did a little bit backwards in asking you guys to put that much time and work into it without going more with the ballpark and how feasible is it? And I'm sorry about that. I can see that you guys have put a lot into it.
Mhm.
Especially, I mean, there's just like several circumstances. We don't have the funding. I hate to say this with Eric in the room, but we don't know what we're responsible for. I just don't think it's gonna be a very easy sell at this time. But that's just my thoughts.
I think it's a step, just a step or two above just, a want, simply because, and I said this to Jason before, that the sell isn't that, look at all the mileage on this, or it's look at the condition that it's in, but look at the age.
Mhm.
And older vehicles depreciate quicker, and in some cases, parts can't even be purchased, but even newer vehicles have better not security, but safety features. And I
Yeah.
think that, to me, is where I would lean towards, is the safety aspect, as opposed to trying to justify it through the mileage and the conditions, because
Yeah.
they're pretty good. But I would want our people to be in better vehicles that are even more efficient too.
Mhm. And more
what they do.
comfortable would
So,
be,
I
you know, I
think
mean, that
that
would
is
be, you know, especially when you talk about
something to
it
be looked
being
at.
command center, or
Mhm.
you would want the idea of, you know, comfortable place for everybody to warm up or cool off and all of that. That makes sense.
That is a big issue, especially when we go out on these calls, it's below zero.
Mhm.
You know, the way we've done it in years past, guys are huddled around the exhaust pipe on the engine,
Mhm.
warming their hands up. I really
That's
don't
great.
like that, so.
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask, like, two trustees, just to test the waters, is what we should do from here. If we should consider this for next month, or what other information, or to table this.
One of my fears is, okay, right now we've got the quotes, I don't know how long they're good for, but it's not like anything gets cheaper, so if we wait 2 years down the road, instead of looking at 70K, we could be looking at
100K.
who knows what, I mean, it really, we ran into this with some things at school where had we known what was coming in a couple of years, we would have done things differently, and so that's the only thing that worries me, is when we have this quote on the table a year from now, what does that look like? And I don't know, Scott, if you can speak to that too with squad car, if you have any experience with that, but that's the only thing that worries me. You know, I agree, we can't approve it right now without knowing where 70K is coming from, 100%. Maybe the move forward is, can we look at grants? I tried to get on the grants website today, by the way. That's another story, but it's not the
Mhm.
easiest,
Mhm.
thing to operate, but I don't know if that's how we move forward.
Have you guys talked with Jessica Planner about grants yet?
Not since we spoke to her that first time, maybe Carrie can chime in, but
The check has been written, and I believe it's up to the administrator, he's got the okay through the board to contact her, and that's as far as I know it's gone.
We did talk about that, I think, on Friday.
I just didn't know where that, I mean,
that's
cause
where
that
you
would
gotta
be,
go. I mean, I put in for it for $250 to go for a turnout gear and a rescue vehicle,
right, cause that would be helpful,
and she will
even if
find
it's
the
like
grant for
half,
us
right,
for
that would be
items
helpful
that
to know where and how
That's
much.
the other piece. If grants, I mean, the 7K is already accountable for, if grants come in, where's the tipping point when the village is willing to say, okay, here's the amount we're willing to throw in? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's necessary too, to move forward, like, how much do we have to give to this? I have no idea what that number is.
point of information. You gotta remember that the 70,000 is the number that we come up with right now, obviously said how long it lasts. So $7 grand's off that, so you're at 63.
Right,
Now you take that vehicle that Ms. Grundon is saying is so valuable, so if you could sell that for 20, now you're at.
I didn't
43
say it
grand.
was so valuable.
Well, I'm saying, you're saying there's a value to it.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
value.
there's a
to
value
us.
to it,
Yeah.
maybe that's how, can you get a quote on it? Like, I don't know, but I do think too, we need
We
to
can't
come up
wait
with a
forever,
number that says.
I think we
This-
need more pieces of the puzzle.
Well,
Which we can play that game for.
I-
I understand
okay.
that.
I won't put this back on the agenda until we get more information, but I want to be back of our mind. But then there is a point in which we can't, I don't want you to keep pursuing it if it's gonna be dead in the water too. So,
Well, we pretty much pursued it as far as we can, as far as getting information and the quotes, you know, it's all here, I mean, it's up to you guys.
We need more
I-
information, like where we're gonna get the money from,
Right, right.
Essentially.
I don't know,
not from you,
I don't
just.
know if a loan is.
It comes with a loan payment.
I-
There's that catch.
I get that, I pay for my truck, but,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know if you'd have to cough up the whole price right away, or if the village takes out loans for things like that, I know they do with other things,
okay.
Well,
I'm new to this process.
On that, we're still paying, I don't know how much we owe on the engine. Is that in here? Do you know?
I'm
In
not
any
sure.
of the budget?
I know I saw a report from Diane at one time. about
Maybe
how
just
much the budget for.
For
engine was.
future, on your vehicle thing, maybe that would be just something to have a tab on. If you
I-
can or can't,
I
just
don't really
nice.
track that, I'd have to.
Right, but just like getting it from Diane, even if it's quarterly, like here's where we are on the,
I think we asked Diane, because if all of a sudden
Yeah.
the engine's gonna be paid off at, I have no idea, at the end of this year, then poof,
Yeah, it's-
that can be
it's
money.
not.
it's not.
No,
But,
okay,
yeah.
well, that's just ridiculous.
10-year loans.
How many years have we been on it?
4. And then when that comes due, that's.
Then the next truck is due.
Oh, so that's already
It's re-
happening,
It's recruiting every 10 years, there's a new engine.
got it.
So in 27, we're gonna be looking for a new engine. In 37, we'll be looking for a new engine.
So my idea is terrible.
It's just-
No, it's not terrible.
No, it's not terrible, it's just, now you know.
I'm gonna
Good question.
I'm gonna pursue this month what it needs to be so that the conversation can happen in an official way, because it's kind of dead in the water here in the sense of, we don't know how to move forward without knowing what the board is gonna do, and do we have to make it into a motion before they start to
We
consider
would.
it?
Mhm.
So,
It would have to be a,
It'd have
we
be a
would have to
motion.
say, are we gonna support the idea or not?
And then
Okay.
it goes to FHR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could just give it to FHR.
well, thank you, yeah.
Fun.
So,
You wanna
we'll do
tell
that.
one, or?
We'll pursue that.
Yeah.
I'll pursue that this month and see what happens next month, to see if that's the direction
Well, and maybe next month we
mean,
can
to put
even
into a committee
ask,
that actually,
ask Lon to put it on the agenda for FHR.
yeah.
Because then Diane's sitting at the table and there is the bigger picture.
Well, then maybe you can have some feedback from Jessica Planner by then too.
This is,
I
yeah,
don't-
this is gonna be the last one, and then we're gonna move on, so.
I don't know if
Yeah.
Diane has contacted Jessica or not.
So.
I know it's on his
If we go
list.
for a grant, but the FHR has to approve going for a grant,
Mhm.
correct?
The board
So-
does.
The FHR's gotta approve the grant, and then it's gotta go to the village board. So why can't you make a motion that the FHR approve looking at grants? I mean, where do you go from there? I mean, that's. if
We
you don't
can't make a
to the
motion
next level-
today because it's not on the agenda. But Lon could go ahead and put it on his agenda.
You know,
Yeah.
you gotta look for the money. You obviously don't have money, and you all know that in this room.
Yeah,
So FHR, this is what I want, can we go to the next step? You guys don't have the money, can we go to the grant?
That'd be a lot.
And that's fine.
Mhm.
And then that goes to the village board to get approved.
I
Yeah,
think you have to
I just-
tell on that.
I don't have to tell.
You're president.
thank you.
Have you had
Thank you for that
there?
information,
I-
Carrie.
I just-
Lon, fire department wants to be on your agenda.
Yeah,
I agree, it has to go somewhere,
Yeah.
otherwise it's just gonna die, so.
Yeah,
Well, and the
Okay, I have a
benefit of
note.
the FHR would be Diane sitting at the table.
lexical update.
Oh, gosh. Poor Jason.
Not much to report, I gave out, it's a stack of Lexipol, ordinances or
policies.
policies, thank you. I gave one copy to the chiefs, one copy to the captains, one copy to lieutenants. I've gone through the chiefs' copy and made some adjustments, but I need to get with the captains and lieutenants to kind of nudge them along a little bit, so. still working on the end of the year, or still shooting for end of the year as the completion date.
Do they have deadlines like to be through 10 by next week or whatever?
It's gonna have to come to that because it's kind
Well,
of,
I'm just thinking it
kinda
might just be
stagnated.
easier,
yeah.
like this is our end
Especially
gate.
as we enter the last quarter, I think a really good stringent kind of last mile type.
Yeah,
Last leg of the trip type thing.
yeah, we're
yes.
gonna have to make a strong push here at the end, so. We'll get
Okay,
on some sort of schedule.
love of God, is that it? Is that what you're asking me? That's good, I'm
I
just,
think he didn't mean that towards you, but how you,
No,
how
I
you feel
know.
towards us.
I
is
know,
what-
that's
What
actually.
he's trying
Do you
to
have
say.
anything?
We've had it worse.
I just-
That's true.
Thank you for the work you put into the budget and everything else. Chief Drew, what do you have? Okay, we have some big conversations here too, so.
Yeah, I know. Quickly on my monthly report, we had 7 open shifts. Our squad radio was received, and actually Brandon took it down to Portage yesterday and had the radio installed. There was a little bit of a snafu with that.
Stop it.
No, not with the install, but it was, I'll just say, it was all resolved and
Okay, then don't even tell us.
Yes.
This is great.
so that squad better be in the homecoming parade on Thursday. I'm hoping to see it tomorrow in regular patrol. But with that, I'll skip a little ahead. Squad 1 was damaged with an incident with an officer backing into his garage.
I wasn't
so-
gonna say it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't me this time. So we are getting quotes on the repair for that. We do know that a tail light's gonna be about $700. So at bare minimum, we will be getting that replaced. Then we are gonna have to assess what the game plan is, if that car is gonna get stored, if it's whatever. It's still a viable squad. It just
Mhm.
doesn't look as pretty. The back quarter panel has got a little scrape.
Is this the one that was going out of commission in the first place?
This is the one that would be up for replacement, yes.
Okay.
That I've been fighting so hard to keep. And my argument just keeps getting harder and harder because,
I'm not
again,
getting $5,000 for it anymore, huh?
oh, I'm sure not. But so that therein lies the problem, like, we haven't gotten the quote yet, and it has not been submitted to insurance yet. I'm a little leery with that. Because I think that the estimate to repair it is probably gonna be more than the value of the squad. So I'm kind of hoping that they can fix the taillight. We can have the body shop make it look as best as possible, and it becomes our, it still is a 2018 squad. So, I don't know.
Feel
that
bad,
it's-
Scott. It's not like the damage that's happened at the fire department.
No, it's, it
I'm
does,
teasing.
yes, and it does happen. So,
The fire engine backing into something in the UTV.
it, yeah, it
Oh,
happens.
yeah.
I don't think we've
Yeah,
had this kind of damage.
Oh, you
since
thought it was a
Greg's
new one.
staying
Oh,
up
God.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
it's not a new one.
No, looks good kill, no. And so it does happen. Again, I'm trying to dance around that, the potential of a possible insurance claim versus, maybe a couple, I'm hoping, that $700 plus a little extra, hopefully to get it so it's drivable and doesn't look like. But we'll see, and I will keep you updated. Murtis and Abbott both completed their handgun and rifle qualification courses with the Sheriff's Department. I missed out on it this month, so I will make it up next month. Because I was happy to be asked again to participate with Midstate Tech. They're starting their law enforcement academy recruitment for the spring. So right now it's the UWSP students that are applying for the academy, and they actually have to go through an interview process. So I, along with the Portage County Sheriff, Grand Rapids Chief, and then a lieutenant from the Sheriff's Department, did interviews one day for them. And again, I was happy to help out, be asked. The hazmat situation went well this morning. I didn't have a huge role in it, but did make sure that the command post, that Jeff Abley was there and helped out with making sure everybody got what they needed. We did end up having to use the base radio at the station because there was some communication issues on the portables and stuff, so. But all in all, it was very good. I think it was a huge, PR thing. News cameras were there. Chief Eckes did a nice job of fielding all of the media, along with the plant manager. And then, of course, there was an incident that happened in Nakusa this morning at the elementary school. And the reporter got turned on to me and she said, "Oh, Chief." And then she looked at my name, and so I'm quoted on Channel 7 with stuff I had absolutely no knowledge of. So my wife's sending me screenshots of, "Oh, Chief Scott Drew of Port Edwards Police Department said." So
Yeah.
so hopefully I didn't completely give totally wrong information, but so we do know Nakusa School District this morning had a third grader on the bus make a comment about a bomb. So the elementary school was closed down for the day. As far as I know, nothing turned up, but. Lexipol, I have no updates this month, short month, and as I didn't put on here, but we'll be assessing or mentioning shortly, the school has lost its mind.
No.
It has been quite the year. And again, nothing completely, totally off the wall, but
A lot.
okay, well, as our school counselor looks at me oddly, it has been one situation to the next, all stemming from, from me greeting the students in the morning to leaving there at 12:30 after tears have been shed by school staff, by police staff, by it's really been trying this year, and I will be exploring every possible opportunity to see about funding for that position in the school, because if the future repeats itself and continues to go on the trend it's at, if you look at my call logs, we've got 24 school zones logged. Now that's either sitting in the school zone or being in the school. And I'll be honest, I haven't sat outside the school at all this year. Every time that I've done a school zone, I've been in the school, or at least on the front steps greeting students. And most of those property protections are probably also school related, because we check out when we go just to walk through. So we've, the one particular day I left at like 12:30, and I think Josiah was coming in the back door when I was leaving out the front, and then he was there all afternoon. So it's really been challenging, and again, the school staff is great to deal with, but it would be nice. Again, I'm trying to pursue grants, but at the same time, like, I'm acting as a patrol officer, so you all see my desk, and that's not an excuse, but with that said, homecoming is this week, and right now I have one part-timer lined up to basically take in all the events along with my full-time staff. So parade, I'll have 2 full-time, a part-time, and I'm still haven't decided exactly what role I'm gonna be in, if it's gonna be in this, or I will be there, but I don't know, like, if I'll be in uniform or not, but we are taking all the events very seriously, not that we haven't in the past. I've talked with Public Works. We're gonna be blocking off the streets with equipment, First and Market and Fourth and Market, so that we have no potential for someone to drive through our parade. And so a lot of planning going in behind the scenes. I know the school, I've talked with students for parking issues. We're getting that taken care of for the day of. Yeah, just trying to be part of all of the festivities, including the weekly games. It's just been, we've had students from out of the area that are coming. We've had weapons found I think I addressed this a little bit last month, but we've had weapons found on the school grounds. It's risen to a level that I didn't think it could rise to. Again, relatively, we're still we're not this, our numbers will never say like, we've got a high truancy rate, we've got a high violence rate. That's not the case. But for our little town, it's been a little bit off the wall, non-typical of a typical school year. I didn't have my budget snapshot. Yeah, snapshot is the word I'm looking for.
We can edit these videos.
Yeah.
No, we
well,
can't.
No, they can't.
Anybody who knows me, yes, Freudian slip, but.
Well, someone might be able to, I can't.
Yeah, well. So I didn't have my budget snapshot, I mean, we didn't have any overtime, I did get, one of the things that I kind of thought creatively this month is Alicia Brundage, part-time. Actually, I'm standing on the corner for Randall one day and I'm like, my part-time officers would be interested in filling in for a crossing guard. So Alicia has come on in and done crossing guard for us a couple of times. A little silly, but they make $7 an hour less than what the crossing guards do as the officer, so I'm gonna be creative with payroll on that, but I do have another interested party in being a backup crossing guard, so I have that application on my desk, so I'll be looking into pursuing that as well. Again, it would just be a fill-in spot. Traffic numbers are way down this month. Again, we're not on the road. We've been in school. Did have one criminal arrest for physical abuse of a child. Worked great with school staff, and we have that program. It's
Handle with care.
thank you. Handle with Care. We fill out a form, we email it. Paul Lieber with Nacusa School District notifies our school staff, hey, be on the lookout. This student may need a little extra attention this day. And that works very well. We had a little snafu with this last time, but oversharing instead of undersharing, so it all worked out. I think that's all I have under that, unless you wanna get into the
Yeah, any
schools.
questions for Chief Drew before I move on to the specifics? The fourth officer, Eric,
Just a question, I see that there listed a discussion about the proposed 2024, or excuse me, police coverage did not go late. Now in 2024, did I?
Nope, it's coming up.
Okay.
yes, that, well, we are gonna talk about the fourth officer and the SRO. And before we begin, I just wanna make sure that we got this cleared away. The village board has already approved the creation of this position on the village books and, it's there, we approved it, to be filled. We have an eligibility list prepared
Correct,
with no one chosen yet, but we just haven't considered the financial aspect, so
correct.
just so I think that.
We've considered them, just not approved them.
Approve them, okay, so we're
Yes.
looking for approval.
So there was some proposals last year which never made it to that point of
Okay.
actually pulling the plug.
So, so the question isn't, we're not asking, should we have one? Because it's already there, it's just empty, and how do we fund that is really what the question is.
Correct.
So, and how what that money is, so.
Yes, so right from the get-go, I know we talked briefly before the meeting, I'm gonna ask you not to approve my budget tonight.
We're not going to anyway.
Oh, good, good, we're in agreement. Okay, a couple of things, talked with several board members and today with the school finance director. We are exploring some cooperative measures which could lead, very hopeful thinking, which could lead to the school being able to contribute substantially more than what they do currently. That is a big could. There's still some research there, but there is a fund, it's called Public Fund 80. There's some, I don't want to say dispute, but there's some question as to whether funds from that account can be used for SRO services. Some districts are, some districts
Who does the
aren't.
fund belong to? What do you
It
say?
belongs to us as the taxpayers. So it
Is it a
is,
state?
it is a state, I don't know, trustee Moore, if you have more information on that, but it's a fund that the school can use for specific things. The burden does come back on the taxpayer. I mean, it's a leviable, or I'm probably not using that word right, but it does apply to the school's millage rate and all that. So it is a direct burden on the taxpayers. But it is,
It depends on how it's applied because, and I'm not the expert on this, but it depends on how it's applied. Basically, sometimes you can use it, you can levy it, but it also brings down the mill rate. Does that make sense? So
What's it
that's,
called again?
it's called Fund 80.
Fund 80.
But this is, to be totally
It's-
clear,
yes.
this is not something that the village controls at all. This is a school piece and we have no jurisdiction here to
Correct.
do anything with Fund 80. So, I know Scott's giving some information, but at this point, this really needs to stay in Lisa Miller's hands to work through to even see, is this something that we can do? Fund 80 is a lot easier to do something with at a bigger district. So,
right,
I'll just say
and,
that.
and again, if it's stat-based or anything like that, like our huge troubles are nothing compared to a big school problem. But, again, I just want you guys to know that I'm trying to find a solution to our problem, not just bringing you the problem. And whether that is grant-based, again, some conversations and much more research needs to be done, but I'm hopeful that if we play a dual angle, both village and or district, that the district may even have a better chance of applying for safety grants than the village would. But again, I wanna go into that like full knowledge, and I don't have that. I mean, to be honest, you know, it was a priority of mine, but in the last 21 days, it's become a much higher priority because it is, I don't wanna say a burden, but we're kind of delving into a little bit more than an hour a day, you know? And I mean, we're gonna have to do something at some point, but again, I talked with Lisa Miller today. She was very enthusiastic and off and running on it. So I said, what do I need to do? And she said, you need to shut up and just let me work. So that's, you know.
And you
so
said impossible?
Yes, absolutely, because I haven't sat down with the superintendent yet because I don't wanna like put false, like, hey, we could do this. So until we do that, I'm, you know, like I said last month, I understand that my budget is like very dependent on that. I mean, that's gonna be a huge thing. Last year, and you know, like Jason said, it's been a little bit different each of my budget years here. Under Dwayne, it was kind of just, you know, straightforward. You know, when I first started, like, oh, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, and done. With Boz, I mean, I don't really remember if public safety approved it before it went to FHR. I mean, there was just kind of works all along, and at some point, you know, it was just like, Drew ain't gonna miss this, you know, 500 here and 500 there, and it was kind of just done between Boz and Diane. So I mean, like, the truth is like, we get our budget in January, like, I find out, oh, well, they slashed money from here or added money to there. I'm totally transparent and willing to work on each budget line with all of you, and if that's, you know, I mean, I can, you know, at one point, but Boz wanted to eliminate some money out of the training budget, and I said, we can take that money, but not out of the, you know, with what's going on in the world, we can take it from here, but don't take it out of the training budget, because we don't need that appearance. So again, that bottom line, that's my hope and dream list, and I understand that, so.
Any questions pertaining to the fourth officer SRO position?
I don't have questions, but I have thoughts. I hate to put more pressure on you, but I think that we need to, what we had from an SRO, Lon was really good.
Mhm.
But times have also changed rapidly since then. What we need is very clear curriculum, very clear training, very clear partnership with developing with the school that is gonna be a lot more than, and I think that's what's required at this point. So, and again, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but I want you and Jason to know there's money sitting on the table that if we figure out some kinds of ways to share services with other communities, and I don't know what that looks like in some capacity, there's gonna be potentially more money. We gotta figure that out. And what I had suggested to our chair is that giving you guys the opportunity to be a part of taking the lead on that, so it doesn't feel like something that we're like uncomfortably laying out after the fact. I would like to see you guys part of the front end. We gotta figure something out. There's money on the table. We have to have an SRO officer. And I don't think any one of us are prepared to have that conversation after the fact when we see it every day, what's going on. I would not survive it. I could not answer to anybody for somebody being hurt. And continuing to pass budget cycles on while we talk about stupid stuff and don't protect our employees and our kids from what's gonna happen next. And it's not like, I mean, it's somebody that's unbalanced, whether it be, I mean, I'm not making any indication, a teacher, a previous student. I mean, it could be anything, and they lose it, and here's a mass
Health aid.
place with a bunch of people. And we're in these meetings and it's documented that we know it. We know it's here, we know, and we're not doing anything.
Well, and to that point, you know, and you and I have talked about this, my fiscal responsibility has in turn reduced the effectiveness of the department. And
I don't know
I
if
guess-
I understand what.
well, okay, so basically, when I came here as chief, part of my goal is to reduce the budget of the department so that I mean, people said, oh, you're paying Drew too much. You know, he's gonna break the village. So I was very conservative and still very conservative with our hours, our overtime, our lots of things. So, I mean, I don't know where I got these amounts, to be honest, if they came out of that PAA audit or whatever, but you know, back in 2016, the budget was 273,000. You know, so we've come down to, I mean, back at 19, it was 217, so we dropped, you know, $60,000, and we've just continued to reduce. And again, at my own fault, at my own peril. You know, when we did have the full-time SRO, we had a chief working, a daytime officer, an SRO, and then a 3 to 11 officer. You have 4 different officers working on a day. Now we have me and 1 officer, you know, and that has saved us a ton of money. But it has also reduced the hours of having multiple officers on in a shift. So again, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. In fact, I prefer to do it. So when you see me out driving around, it's because that's what I like to do. Yes, I'll do the paperwork, I'll get that stuff done. But I want to make sure our kids are safe. I want to make sure that our community is safe. And to me, that was a fiscal savings by not having another cop sitting here. Well, I could do that, you know, we're not so busy. But ultimately, then now when I come back, you know, 4 years later and say, hey, we need this money. I mean, the truth is we would have been well over this amount that I'm asking for now, based on the way we were operating previously. I mean, it would have been way over. I mean, we were paying 16 hours a week of overtime for that SRO, a week. Plus, we were paying a part-time officer to fill those hours so that we could have 4 cops here. You know, it was just so crazy out the, you know, and again, we had great service, we had a great SRO program, and, you know, to my detriment, we haven't had that steady person in there. I mean, probably, and this isn't a cut to my guys because they're off half the week, you know, so, you know, I just had that answered this morning. Well, who is our dedicated SRO? Well, back when Brandon was on day shift, you know, working a crazy schedule with Chuck on nights, well, Brandon was assigned it because he was here 5 days a week. Now he's here 2 days 1 week and you know, 4 the next. So it's just, you can't really do that. And just to get that, that body back and to get that money that, you know, I'd like to look at, like, well, I saved 60 grand one year and put it in the, you know, it just went back into the general fund, but I know that government doesn't work like that. But again, like Tiara said, I mean, if that shooting happens or whatever, man, I don't know that I'll survive it either. You know, and I mean, I'm just being upfront with it. I mean, I love those kids. Again, I mean, there's more than one time I'm sharing tears in the principal's office. So I'll quit beating that dead horse, but I mean, I just wanted to explain that I take responsibility, you know, for the fiscal part of it, like, yeah, hey, I'm saving this village money, but I also understand that has potentially reduced some of our school safety as well. And that's not something that I wanna retire on that note.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
We will pursue with the school, because I think by next time we need to have some numbers and we know that this, at least Lisa, she's pursuing it in an official capacity, or does she need to be given that? Do you know?
We can't give Lisa an order.
No.
Is that what you're suggesting?
No, and I take on the
Does she need it
conversation
from
I
like the
had
school board?
with her today that she will
That's what
keep
we're
me
gonna do, yes.
updated on, you know, she will, you know, at some point it probably will have to go to the school board and all that, but I think we're premature for that.
We don't even know if it's a viable option. Lisa needs to work through the process before this becomes something that we approach the school board about before. I mean, at this point, Mr. Bina hasn't even given his blessing, right? So we're in the early stages.
Mhm.
Scott's just telling you, he's looking at all the avenues, and that's, I think, where that
Yeah,
discussion needs to end.
And I think if we get to a point where there's like some urgent info, I will reach out to you, and I mean, if I think it's that advantageous, I would ask that you call a special meeting. I don't think we're not anywhere near that point yet, but
I wonder if we ask, Lon to put on FHR to get, grant search from, Lexipol.
and I'm totally, you know, down with that. I have no idea what the cost is, but that's something I can reach out tomorrow and find.
I mean, I just feel like we talk about it and talk about it, and then we talk about it.
I agree.
And we're gonna look like fools if we don't. I mean, that could be a cheap place to start.
It could be a free, well, yeah, a very inexpensive, you know, and again, we've been talking legacy and whatever, and I'm not gonna throw any names out, but, you know, someone did some research, and I think as of June, the number was like 155 million that they're sitting with. I think some of the requirements have become easier, to meet. So again,
And in all reality, with the amount of money they've put into Nakusa's, fields, like millions,
3.1 million. the
and
baseball diamond.
Rapids also, we want help making sure we can just keep our kids safe.
Mhm.
But again,
So,
the flip side of that is, you know, it can't be as much as, again, Lon did a really good job. It needs to be like, whoever does this is getting, you know, this CPI training is staying on top of it, this, you know, the de-escalation, you know, recognizing all the mental health stuff and really invested.
Yeah.
Like nearly a curriculum.
and I think, you know, and we've spoke before, Josh Colo, the assistant chief and SRO for Nakusa, you know, he was teaching biology last week. You know, they needed, I mean, that
Mhm.
shouldn't be the norm, but at the time where you need a fill-in, you've got a qualified person in the building that can at least entertain the kids for 40 minutes or whatever it is, and because that's probably what it came down to, but still, I mean, I agree, there should be, you know, proactive, and the great thing is with Jim, he worked very close with the Marion School District. They had a curriculum, it was a set 4-hour per day, so that's, you know, we talked when he first came here, and again, it was funding, you know, very far off, but if we can find those avenues, I think.
Well, and the other part, going back to the 4th full-time officer, if we could get the school to get on board with stuff. we just can't count on Wood County to manage our stuff, like, and I know I keep beating on this, but, I think it was last Halloween, 2 county officers on, in the whole county. What are we gonna do if they're in Vesper and, you know, what are we gonna do if we don't have coverage? That's not having all of our shifts covered is not an option. It's not a responsible way to go, I guess.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think that certainly we all want to make sure that this gets filled. We'll just have to find what kind of glass ceiling that we hit. Tied to the hip with this, or joined at the hip with this conversation is the police coverage at NEPCO. And it was just for now, and because what we gonna have to do for next year too.
Correct, and, you know, to hit on this, you know, Chairman McGregor had asked me to do a little research and come up with the calls, you know, like our call base from over there, and quite honestly, what I told him is, I could look for it, but it'll take me longer to find calls over there. I mean, it's a safe community. Basically, what we're looking at is travel time, dedicated for patrols. You know, we're gonna have some property checks and that type of a thing, but I don't see bringing that back, that area into our community as a huge, like a huge influx of calls. I mean, I don't know if, you know, Eric would have more information on that, but as a county deputy, I remember going there one time, you know, to do a welfare check on a student that hadn't showed up for school or something like that, but it's not a huge call base.
You don't see it as being a burden.
It will be a burden as far as the distance and the extra miles and that kind of, you know, thing. But I don't see it as a burden of, you know, that we're gonna be investigating, you know, drug crimes, and I mean, anything's possible in time, but
It would
it's
be
not-
white collar crimes.
white collar, yeah, clearly. But again, it is our responsibility, and I know Eric will say charming stuff if we allow him, that, you know, he supports our efforts at the school and he wouldn't expect to see an officer over there and whatever during the day. The truth is they're taxpayers and they deserve the same rights, the same protection as someone on Second Street behind the PD.
So, relaying a suggestion or a request from, our administrator is to consider, the county dispatch, now, explain to me now, because I've heard that it was county dispatch, but then it's also Port Edward, so what kind of?
So currently
DOD
we do have a joint combined dispatch center.
Okay,
So don't be confused with that. That will not change. So the only thing that will change is right now, because that area is considered Saratoga, deputies respond to that area. So technically it's, fire is currently responding over there, but police is not. So, I mean, we do sneak over sometimes if whatever, but technically it's Saratoga, so we have no jurisdiction. Come January 1st, we will have jurisdiction, and therefore that becomes part of our patrol area. The calls, the 911 calls or non-emergency calls still go through Wood County Dispatch. They just now, instead of sending a county deputy, they will send us to any calls for service. So yeah, as far as dispatching and all that, none of that will change. It's just, it'll actually straighten things out now, because typically dispatch will send us and we go, no, that's part of this Saratoga agreement, and then they go, oh yeah, and send us to county. But again, those calls, I mean, I would assume we'll have more proactive activity over there than we'll have reactive.
Eric, did you have any comments towards that?
No, I appreciate, Chief Drew's, investment and interest. I think we've already working together on having a neighborhood watch program that allows us to take care of monitoring how things are on a daily basis. And when people aren't there, if they want somebody to walk around the property, we can do that. That saves any need for that, particularly in the winter months when school's going on. And if we see something suspicious or unusual. We have, an interaction with Chief Drew and his staff. And I think we can cooperatively work together to cover that pretty well. The people that are on the neighborhood watch, one is a former Milwaukee police officer. Myself, who, I know you're gonna laugh at this, but I was trained as a military policeman. And another gentleman who's been in the area for a long period of time, and I'm appreciative of the ability to work together, and I think we can find creative solutions that doesn't overburden the Port Edwards, but provides a service that we all would like to have, and including supporting the SRO position in an escalated way than what you all had before.
Okay. Thank you for that. Sounds like you can form your own well-regulated militia over there.
It's not a posse comitatus. Trust me.
Okay, thank you. We certainly want to keep that in mind. And again, if that state rep wants to come back and advocate for the state to put a bridge here, that conversation would be a whole lot different, but it would wipe out a few buildings along the way, which is problematic for me, so. But that's a discussion for another day. If there's no other comments, we're going to, anything with your budget, I mean, we'll consider it next month, but anything that we need to look at.
No, and again, some of the items that were reduced from last year, I put back up to their value. Again, I'm very conscious of, what's in there, and, like my range budget, I haven't touched this year. I typically wait till later in the year, see how things are going for ammunition and stuff. If prices are high and whatever, I have no problem giving that money back. So I guess, take into consideration that because I didn't spend 1,000 there, next year it may have to be spent. But again, I'm open to the conversation line by line on that kind of stuff. And obviously our squad budget is going to take even a bigger hit, with that radio bill now. That's going to go back into the vehicle expense, just again, because that was my original direction from Boz. So that 200 and whatever % of the budget's gonna go up some more. Again, the overall budget, I think I'm still gonna be okay for the year, but I don't like seeing the negative, areas in my budget.
I think that when we consider this and for next month is, what we're dealing with is changes in the village with the addition of Nepco Lake, and yet the taxes won't take effect until 2024. So in a lot of ways, do we consider these additions this year take a hit for 2024 before that tax base changes in 2025, or do we wait until 2025 when that matches up? I think that's something that we have to consider. Those changes, do we do it a year ahead and see what happens at the end of next year? But I think that's something that I've been thinking about too.
We're not talking about a major increase in what we're seeing though as a village, right?
Yeah, no.
Cause it wasn't, Diane has it in the email somewhere, but it wasn't even a major bump by any means.
Throw one more loop at you. And again, just because I forgot to mention it, Wisconsin State Patrol just received a very, very, very substantial bump, and they are recruiting very, very hard. It's going to rock this area because I think you're going to see some senior officers leaving from many places.
We're gonna get the bad ripple down effect. We won't
It's
be able
gonna,
to
I mean,
recruit them.
right now with 7 years experience, they will lateral you for $46 an hour. So with 7 years experience, they'll match vacation, sick leave, time off, all that. And like, I know some, we'll just say some very senior officers that are not myself, not going there. But some officers that are getting close to retirement that are going, hey, I can go there this year and make $98,000 a year. And my retirement's based off my 3 highest years. So I'm gonna go work 3 years and see ya. With that said, Nakusa is also trying to add an officer. They're highly trying to recruit one of my officers. And I don't think we will lose them, but actually Josiah has received 3 separate proposals from 3 different agencies. And I'm quite certain he's not going anywhere, but it's becoming a dog-eat-dog market. So Toma reached out to him, Nakusa and State Patrol.
I was just at Mid-State last week where they do a counselor breakfast and they have kids in there that just graduated. They just started the program. So they're like 18 and they meet with them before they even get anywhere near being done with the program and they're already signed on. And then there's other departments that are coming in. The guy shared and he's like, they're mad that there's no one left. Like he was, they're spoken for at the end. And that's,
I don't
It's-
know what and again, collaborative services, I mean, I think
Yeah.
at some point, I don't know when that is, I mean. I talked to Tier a little bit earlier, like the give and take with that, like right now we have control, we have. We can say, this guy is a good guy, but I don't know that he's right for our area, for our district, our whatever, and we have a little bit more control with that. I mean, including on the fire department, you go, it might be great in Milwaukee, but I don't know about Port Edwards. And that's the only, I think, downside to that is we may lose that. If we do go bigger, go more multi-jurisdictional, you have that tendency to not be able to say, oh, why is Drew's garage door open? That's not normally open. And again, can't know, but certainly we'll look in those avenues because it may be the future.
I don't know if you were here when Rome approached us. And it was like a heck no, we don't want it. We don't want anything to
It's a
do
lot
with it.
different though,
But
different setup.
yeah, the scenario at this point, how can
Everybody's
we
hurting for
not
people.
explore something that could be a funding revenue that can help support our programs?
Well, I think if we're in it on the front end and starting having those conversations and serious conversations, we're better off than trying to be on the tail end of it. And now we're like, hey, help us. So I'd much rather be having those conversations first before going
Yeah.
too far and then
Well, and
not
that's
being able to get on.
why I wanted to have a little bit of that conversation tonight in new business, but we've kind of already covered it in giving our public safety chiefs the opportunity to not find out after the fact, oh, we talked to so-and-so and so-and-so, but pull them into the process in some capacity because they know the needs of their departments and how it might align.
so just to clarify, your budget's getting tabled till next month.
Right.
I'm gonna save my questions then until next
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
Please
because
do,
obvious-
and more as we.
And again,
I
I'm,
don't wanna waste everyone's
totally
time.
open to line by line going through it, but I just think we're premature at this point. 'Cause-
There are a lot of changes. Thank you for that. These are
Yeah,
important
why I take notes.
conversations.
they are.
They are, and we'll just have to find the ways and,
Maybe you'll be sick.
yeah, we talked about Lexipol, old business, new business, any older new business, we've covered that.
The new business, if you want to put it in the minutes about the potential, that was my intention to bring it up there, opening the conversation about shared services.
I can talk to Dwayne, how that conversation can go officially.
What?
Consolidation of services.
What?
Yes.
I was looking for that word, thank you.
No correspondence received. Agenda items for next meeting, certainly, we like to focus a little bit on you next week or next month.
I said next
Yeah.
week.
Next
Going back
week,
next
yeah,
week?
it's turning around,
Jason wants to talk about Lexipol, I know. it.
Yeah.
yeah. Jason, do you have any items that you're thinking of coming up for next month?
Not off the top of my head, no, but
Okay. A lot can happen between now and then.
Yeah.
So, and looking at what we did, okay. Next meeting date, I am looking at, the equivalent of this right now. We've had 2 meetings in September, but this is the October one, but we are gonna meet in October, because that's gonna be that round of meetings next. I'm looking at Monday, the 30th, the 31st, Wednesday, the first, second, and third, that week, that goes.
31st is Halloween.
I recognize that, but we're looking at the last week.
Us heathens participate.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Let's
I
keep
already
those
got-
steal candy from
I
our
already
children.
got my costume, so, so the last week of
Just there for
October
candy,
going
man.
into the first week of November, I put on here, I'm open all week, so,
I will be gone Wednesday night, Thursday and Friday, so, but I mean, you can,
so you're
could
leaving
run
us
me-
Halloween, thank you.
yes, I'm going to
Um,
Jamaica. You're
Jen
welcome.
and,
Should make me crazy.
I can do the 31st or the 1st or the 2nd.
And I don't have to be here now that you all know how to learn.
yeah.
You've done
You
that.
you made yourself obsolete now with that.
That's right.
No,
Why do you think I did that?
what, we'll stay away from the 31st. Can we do the Thursday? The 2nd of November?
Okay, it's fine.
Okay. We'll stay at 5 PM.
Okay, someone's gonna have to run the
Um,
Zoom and all the things.
This is the week, okay, no, the only thing that
I'll do
week
notes
is
of them.
usually is Park and Rec, that's usually that week, but that's on a Wednesday, so we shouldn't be, okay. Our next meeting will be Thursday, November 2nd at 5 PM, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned at 6:57. Yay.
Hold on.
I was gonna say
Hold on.
hallelujah, but